Oh, I'm recording. Okay, so hi guys, welcome back. This is actually not live stream. There's a new tool that I'm using. I just want to make sure it works okay. So this is pre-recorded and then played back for you guys. I will still be reading all your comments, of course, answering your questions if you have any. But this is just not live stream. So here we go. Today I want to talk about condos. So I'll call this something like introductions to condo. I won't talk about everything about condos, but this will just kind of, touch the iceberg of what condos are. Okay, so let's get right into it. So introductions to condos and what you need to know about condos. So let's start off with the basic. So when you buy a condo, it's kind of like you're buying into a small town, right? Where like a lot of people are buying within to one space, and there's like a council, local council. There's rules and regulation, restriction bylaws, and of course there could be fines for misbehavior. So buying a condo is really like buying a piece of land within a small town where you're regulated yourself, and your rules in your town may be different from the rules next to the town next to you. So one condo, right, may have maybe side by side with each other, but maybe really, really different. So I think that's what my next slide says. Let's just see here. Oh, where is it? Yes. So the condo across the street, again, may look the same, right? And maybe in the same area, but they could be very different because they can be run differently. It could be different, a completely different community, different kind of rules, and different kind of financial things. And I'll show you what financial are in a minute. So when you are buying a condo, there's something that you need to understand, and that is a status certificate, right? What a status certificate is basically a summary of what your little town is all about. Now, the status certificate is usually ordered by the seller, and it takes about 10 days, and it costs about like $100 to $120 on the seller's expense. Your lawyer is the one that will be reviewing the status certificate, right? And they'll give you what they think about the status certificate. Right? And in the status certificate, they'll talk about financial statements and budget. They'll talk about the reserve funds. They'll also mention about rules and regulations within that condo. And if there's any special assessment, I'm covering that part. Hold on, let me just move myself here. There we go. And if there's any special assessment or any assessment that's coming up, what your lawyer will be reviewing is they want to make sure that the status certificate that you provided to them matches the one that you're buying. So they want to make sure that they want to verify the description, legal description. They want to review if there is any litigations going on, whether it be this condo suing someone or someone suing the condo. They want to see if there's any litigation going on. They want to confirm if there has been a reserve fund study done. And I'll explain to you what that is in a minute. And of course, if once the reserve study is done, there will be an amount of funds that the condo needs to adapt to, and they want to see if the condo has adapted to those funds. So your lawyer should be checking first if they have done a reserve fund study and if the condo is following what the study suggested. What else is there? Reviewing account statements, ensuring the numbers legit. Yes. So the lawyers will be reviewing the accounting part, the account statements of the building, and to make sure that those are real numbers. Right? And so let me move myself again. Oh, see, this is why. I guess I could have done it live. I'm kind of fixing everything as I go anyways, right? So reserve funds. So what is a reserve fund when you're buying into a condo? You hear it quite often, right? So basically, also, this is going to talk about what a lawyer is supposed to do. So a lawyer duty is not to figure out if the reserve fund is enough. They just got to see that if it is there. They want to check to see if the engineer, the next one here, they want to check to see if the engineers come in and review and inspect the report and recommend it. So let's back it up a little bit. So first of all, a reserve fund is like savings account. So every month when you're paying your condo fee, there's a part of that condo fee that gets put aside into something called a reserve fund. So it's like a saving account for the building. So if they need to do anything, they have this fund ready to go. So let's say one day if the roof collapses in, right, and they need to fix that, then they can use, the reserve fund to fix that, or anything like they want to make the like the garage better. Like they want to renovate the garage area to make sure it looks nicer and cleaner, or whatever it may be, or needs maintenance. Then the reserve fund would be something that can be, taken out to help with those kind of maintenance. The lawyer will it's not the duty of the lawyers to see if there's enough reserve fund. That's usually left for a reserve fund study to see if there's enough. The lawyers just need to know if there has been a reserve fund study done, right? And if the condo has been following what the reserve fund study suggested, right? What else is here? Also, the reserve fund would have an engineer stamp. The lawyers will be checking up on that too. And again, like I just mentioned before, that the lawyers will see if the condos have adopted to what was suggested in the reserve fund study. So the reserve fund study is done by an engineer every 30 years. Oops. Every 30 years. Let me see. I should use a highlighter instead of a pen, right? Every 30 years. So you got to hang with me here. This is a new tool, so I'm just trying to figure it out how to use it and getting the hang of it. I promise on the following videos it will look a little bit better. So this here is a type study. Oh, sorry. Let me back it up. An engineer, when they do a reserve fund study, they do it every 3 years, not every 30 years. Oh gosh, what was I saying? They do it every 3 years, but the study is done for the next 30 years. So they kind of predict in the future of, okay, this condo in the next 30 years, what will need to be done. So they'll be like, okay, in about 15 years, they'll do the roof. In 20 years, they'll do like the garage, and so on and so forth. And they'll have kind of like a layout and a prediction for the next 30 years. And this kind of review is done every 3 years, right? And this has to be done because there is something called the Condo Act that regulates this to make sure that condos do this every 3 years, and it's by law. If you're buying a building into a condo and they haven't done a reserve fund study every 3 years, then that would be something of a concern for you to be thinking about. Like, okay, they haven't done it every 3 years. What's going on, right? Let's see here. And then engineers will kind of revise the condo fee accordingly to the study. So, up here when I said that it's not the lawyer's job to figure out if there's enough funds in the reserve funds, well, that's because the engineer will look at the reserve fund and then also look at the condo fees and then suggest the condo corporation what to do. Like, should they be increasing the monthly fee to ensure that they have the right amount of reserve fund needed for the next 30 years? Or maybe they are good and they don't need to increase, right? So that's the engineer would suggest what to do with the condo fee, and then it's the lawyer's job to figure out if the condo corporation has been doing that, and then the lawyer, of course, will then relay that kind of information back onto you if you're buying that condo, right? Let's see here. So although the study is done for the next 30 years, the plan for the next 3 years is the main concern, right? Because then this kind of reserve fund study is done every 3 years. So if you see something like, in 15 years, they're going to replace the roof, how is that going to affect my condo fee, right? Well, it could be a concern, but not too much, because again, 3 years from today, they're going to have to re-look at the roof, and maybe they may change their mind. They may go, okay, maybe not in 15 years, maybe now it's 20 years, or maybe it could be the other way. We thought it was going to be 15 years, but now we think it's going to be done next year, kind of thing. So this kind of study is done every 3 years. Also, what a lawyer is going to be looking at is the lawsuits that they have, the litigation part. So there's three types that can happen within a condo. First, it's a small claims court. So anything that is under 35,000, this will not affect your condo fee that much. Right? So this won't affect your condo fee that much. If it either you win or you lose, either the condo corporation win or lose within that kind of claim, it won't affect you that much. So even though you hear it and you see it, just keep in mind that it's not a big deal. There's also insurance claims. So meaning something's a little bit bigger, it has to go through insurance. It may or may not affect the condo fee that much, just because that, if you lose, the insurance will be covering it. And if you win, then they would, I guess, I don't know a situation right now off the top of my head where you would win and then it wouldn't affect you. But, if you win, I guess nothing will happen to your condo fees anyways. The real litigation is something here that we'd be looking at, is something that, is a concern. This one, your lawyer would bring it up to you and say that, if something that may not be covered by insurance, or I'm not sure what kind of litigation out there that is not covered by insurance, but let's say there is one, then the lawyer will be kind of letting you know that, if the condo corporation loses in this kind of case, then condo's fee will go up by $50 or something like that. But of course, your lawyer will be looking into that and then letting you know. So those are the things that you need to understand when you're buying condos. So first, reserve fund, what is it? Reserve fund study, what is it, and how is it taken? How is it handled? And then the different lawsuits, because not all those lawsuits are the same. The last thing I want to talk about, not the last thing. Let me just take a look here. Oh, no, not the last thing. Okay, so actually for this video, it'll be the last thing because I don't want to be talking too long. The next slide about condos, I'll talk to you in a different video, just so that I can keep my videos a little bit short. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is the number of units being leased within a building. Now you may be thinking, like, does it matter how many units are being leased in a building? Because like that's not my property, right? Why does it matter? Well, if you think about it, if the building is, let's just say 80% occupied by tenants. Now tenants, not all tenants, but most tenants, they don't take care of the property as much as homeowners do. Right? Homeowners have a little bit more pride because they own it, and tenant, they feel like they just kind of living there just for now, and they may not take care of the property as much. And so if you think about it, if a building has 80% tenants, what kind of maintenance or care does that building have, right? And of course, when you live in a condo, there would be, meetings are held where all the owners come together and talk about, okay, what should we kind of do to make this building better? They will have, meetings and suggestions. Now, if it's 80% tenant, then who's coming to the meetings? Right, to keep this building maintained well and taken care of, right? And also, one thing that a lot of people don't think about it is, if the building is 80% tenants, and let's say the market comes to a little bit of a dip or maybe a crash, right? What happens? Now, if you think about it, if you are an investor and the market crashes and you need money, most likely you sell off your investment property. You wouldn't be selling off your home first. Most likely you'd be selling off your investment property. And if a building has 80 or 60% tenants, right, those are the units that will be on the market first in a market that is crashing, right? Because people want to get their money out and, take care of themselves. And so most likely they will put their investment property up for sale first. Now, if all of them do it at the same time and your building is like 60% or 80% tenanted, so a lot of units will be coming up for sale all at the same time, and of course in a bad market. Now, if you are living in that building and you're like, oh, I need to move at the same time of all these other units are for sale, how would that affect your price, right? That would be a really challenging unit to sell if you're up against a lot of other units that are investors. So that's one kind of thing that you want to keep in mind, that if there's a large number of renters, is that for you to buy to like kind of live, right? You want to keep that in mind. So that's the last point I want to share with you today. This would be, like I said, it would be like an introduction to condos. There would be more videos to talk a little bit more about, other parts of buying a condos. and hopefully that will help you more in regards to buying condo. So that's all I have for today. Hope you like this little tidbits of information. I'm here to share information that will help you understand and buy real estate a little bit better. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time on the next video.